Because I've met all of those who come, and I know a lot. I used to do not call registry years ago when they first started. And I don't get all those phone calls. I get the messages from somebody calling, but I didn't get a first scam phone call. And I thought it was about $20, I was so excited. But this is what a little package with drugs and ingredients in my name with three different addresses. And it was for the Department of Justice, DOJ themselves was calling me. So I was like, oh, really? You know what? The thing about it is, my daughter works for the Department of Justice. They're not going to call me. That's the thing. They're not going to call me. They're not going to call. If that's the case, they're going to send somebody to your house. They call me and ask me these questions so that I won't get arrested. I'm like, and then you know what? They don't even worry about it. I'm not going to get arrested. The questions are your name, your birthday, your social security. No, they never learn your name. I know, but I'm just saying this. Question, I'm like, they ask me some questions. And all I can do is tell me. So this one, the broken English, he talked for a while and he asked me, had me on the phone about 5 minutes. And then he told me just give me my supervisor. Now I get on the phone and it was somebody from Speak It Perfectly. And she's one of, and she's so explaining what he's supposed to be explaining. I mean, you know what? They're not in this country. You know what? 9 times out of 10, you know, come those customer service ladies. It's in India. It's in India. They got these call centers. And it makes me so mad. But you know what I do now? There's certain area codes that I don't even answer. Like 784. It's several of them that are nothing but those garbage codes. And I don't answer them. I just, I mean, you're lucky. And I don't know why. You know what, Janet? Because I used to, I guess I did. But I do not have a cousin that she is that I live so I don't know. Like I said, I don't know why. I don't know. But I mean, you know, it was, I used to work for me being there. I don't know. It only feels great. 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 And they don't get me going. It makes me feel like a and it's funny. I don't know. I don't like to. I mean, I don't know about the song. I mean, it's weird. And the thing is, you have it. I know, and that's why I'm like, no, man, relax. Body up so good. I'm not relaxing. Like I said, they get this bullshit. I don't know how they got me in here. But I get that phone call this morning. I was really thinking, one of these ladies, a scam call on somebody's number, and they verify my information and they just kept telling me it was lesbians and then something like that. And I said, I know, I said, but I said, but if you just keep telling me the same thing, I'm gonna have to get on those.
The time is now 8:38, and welcome to another edition of the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Morning Forum. I am a facilitator. My name is Winston Robinson, along with co-facilitators, Ms. Laura McCletty, Ms. Mary Johnson, Ms. Sarita Sherrill, Ms. Carlenia Ivory, Ms. Jackie Edwards Walton, Ms. Nathalie McElrath, our archivist and website editor, Mr. C. Steve Johnston, and the one-man house band, Dr. Thomas. That's right. Our guest today, as you see, is not here. Is Michael Dickerson. Is 277, will be 277. He is Mr. Michael Dickerson of the Mecklenburg County Board of Elections. He will be here momentarily. However, we will start Tuesday morning forum from the back and see if we have announcements or first timers. So, matter of fact, yes, let's start with first
We
time.
always start that prayer though.
Yes, we do. We cannot get anything moving without a word of thanks to the Lord. And we will ask Mr. Rita Sherrill, our chaplain, to lead us in a word.
Good morning.
Mike,
Would you bow your heads and pray with me, please? Dear Heavenly Father, this is to our Master. We know that you are the lamp for our light. We turn to you every day for thankfulness. We're thankful today for your love, for the sunshine and for the rain. Help us through our daily chores, please, God. Remember our children in the land of the wars, Ukraine and the Holy Land. Please, God, remember their little tummies and get some food to them, or there's more of them are going to starve. And as you know, because you know what's going on, I know you do, but it's in your hands. Please, God, remember our children every place. Remember our state, our county, our city, and our neighborhoods. Remember our homes. Bless them all. It's in your Son Jesus' name we pray. Let us say together, Amen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rita. All right, we want to So we want to go to first timers. Please announce yourself if you have any affiliations. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We got a little time.
All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm excited I was able to join y'all this morning. My name is Demetria Cox Thomas. I'm a Charlotte native. I am a plant-based registered dietitian, and I live here in Charlotte, but I also work from the NC Cooperative Extension, and our office is located off West Boulevard besides the Amy James Rec Center, and we do just educational things. We have 4-H located there. We have 4-H there. I'm the family consumer science agent, so I'm in charge of the nutrition education, nutrition classes. I do cooking classes. I'm doing canning classes in the fall. So I just wanted to make everybody aware that we are a resource and we are in the neighborhood. And I'm just glad to be here with y'all this morning.
Thank you so much for being. That's beautiful. That's amazing. Give those kids some canned peaches instead of Takis. Our guest has arrived, Mr. Michael Dickerson. No, please.
Thank you. Hopefully my friend here can get me going.
So, Mr. Dickerson, welcome to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum.
Thank you.
Just for some housekeeping rules, we will allow you time to introduce yourself, give a brief presentation, and then we will field questions. We will take a list of questions and acknowledge the names as they come in.
All right.
And then that way you don't have to do much of the work. You just sit back and respond. And it should be a pretty fun day. We also have an online audience as well. So questions could come in virtually. So without further ado, please.
Thank you very much. I apologize for my tardiness. I thought I was confused. So, but thank you for having me. You think I need one? Yeah, okay.
For the streaming audience, my apologies for that.
All right. Okay, there you go. Thank you very much. Like I said, I apologize for tardiness. I thought we were 9 o'clock, but somebody steered me correct. So I appreciate this. I appreciate the opportunity to come. We have something going on a week from today. Everybody aware of it? Yes. I have a second primary election for the Republican Party, office of auditor and office of lieutenant governor. There will be no third primary. This is the second primary. We're going to get to the top two on this. So that means it's a second Republican primary. I am going to get call after call after call next week saying, hey, you won't let me vote. It's a Republican primary. If you're registered a Democrat, you're not voting. If you voted as an unaffiliate in the first primary as a Democrat, then you're also not voting in this second primary. Don't worry, everybody will be able to vote come November. Everybody will be able to vote come November. And the other thing, as we look at the PowerPoint today, keep in mind something started yesterday in the great city of Winston-Salem. Yesterday. A court case challenging photo ID in North Carolina. Boy, when have we heard that before? Just about every other year. So we're going to see what happens with that. As it stands, if you're going to vote next Tuesday, and if you're voting early, or if you're voting by mail, you're showing me a photo ID for this election. And so we're going to go off of that assumption that we're still showing photo ID, even though this is a federal court case showing up in Winston-Salem this week. So keep all of that in mind as we go through the talk and as you ask the questions right now. Currently, that's what I have to go with. I have to have you show me a photo ID. What's a photo ID in North Carolina? Driver's license. Veteran's card, a passport, things of that nature. If you don't have a photo ID, I invite everybody down to my office at 741 Kenilworth Avenue. I will make you a photo ID free of charge. All you have to do is be registered to vote. And if you're not registered to vote, I'll register you at that time. Take a photo ID, and once your registration goes through, I'll mail you that photo ID free of charge. So I want to make sure that anybody who can vote, or anybody who wants to vote and doesn't have a photo ID, come see me. We will take care of it. We'll make sure we get you a photo ID. I don't want that to be an impediment for you voting. But if it is, you'll see in the talk in a few minutes that I can even fix that too. So we shall see. Well, how about let me give a little bit, were you able to get the PowerPoint? All right, great, thank you. Let me give you a little bit of background. I have been the director of elections in Mecklenburg County for the last 26 years this July. I originally born in Greensboro, North Carolina. Had a great time there. Left after college, went up to Washington, D.C., where I worked at a place called the Federal Election Commission in Washington, D.C. for 14 years, almost 15 years. Met my wife there. We started having children. Said, hey, this is not the place for us because we can't afford it. Washington, D.C. was expensive. It was great when we were young and single. But once you got paying mortgages and trying to figure out I had an hour and a half commute in from Centerville each way. So I'd get home just about time to kiss the kids goodnight and then have a weekend with them. So we decided, hey, this position came open. I was fortunate enough to get the position. I applied for it, interviewed, who was that? Billy Miller, interviewed Carol Hardison, and I interviewed Ike Hurd for the position 26 years ago. And I was lucky to get this position. I'm glad they were able to, glad they gave it to me. It's been a great place. It's a fantastic county to work for. They say, when I go to conferences, they always call me the great state of Mecklenburg, and they are right. This is a great place to be, and it's a fantastic place. It is something that's been in my blood for the last 30, 40 years, elections. I enjoy them. I want everybody to realize, too, that we are nonpartisan down at the Board of Elections. I do not care if you're Democrat, Republican, unaffiliate, Libertarian. I've got no labels party. I've got, I think there's a couple other parties. We the People are trying to form a party. I've got another group that is, a couple other groups that are trying to form a party in this election. But we got all that going. And I don't care who you are, what you are. If you're an affiliate, that's fine with me. All we're doing is trying to make sure that everybody is properly handled and that they all get the opportunity to do that. There are rules and regulations, we all follow those. But it is, it's one of those things where we just hope that everybody is satisfied with what the votes are counted, whether or not your person wins. Somebody's gonna lose, let me just put it that way, or I should say lose, we don't use the word losers. But somebody's not gonna win, that's better. And so that's just the nature of the beast. And this industry, when people write and ask me questions and say, well, gosh, you know, you could do this, you could do this. I really don't care. This county that I work for is a great county. I get my budget on anywhere from, say, $6 to $9 million a year in a budget, based off the number of elections I have. And this is a, what, $2 billion county? So $6 million to $9 million is not a lot to them. So I'm not high up on the schools or in that area, but I'm happy to see and glad to see what I get. Oh, great. This is fantastic. Thank you so very much. Like springing it on you at the last minute.
I'll try to vote twice.
Yeah, you can try to vote twice. Jiminy crickets. Jeez.
Steve got jokes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm gonna give him the mic. I'll be back later, ladies and gentlemen. No, it is, I'll catch you though. I'll tell you that. If I don't, somebody out there will. Trust me. The good thing, the way we do things is the minute you vote, I mark you. I mark you as voting. If you go vote early, I'm voting early right now, 5 sites. It's a Republican primary, so my board asked me, Michael, find the early voting sites that voted mostly Republican in the first primary. So we found 5 sites. And the minute you walk in to vote, I mark you in our database. And that database says you voted. You walk or turn around, and then go to the next site. You think I'm gonna be able to vote twice? Thank you. If you think you're gonna vote twice, I'm gonna catch you. I'm gonna say, aha, you've already voted, I don't have a ballot for you. And at that point, you're gonna say, no, I didn't. Then I'm gonna vote you a provisional ballot, and then I'm gonna have your voting twice in writing, and I'm gonna go and I'll prosecute. I'll send it down to Raleigh, and they'll take care of it. What is my structure? Mecklenburg County Board of Elections. It is a 5-member board, 2 Democrats appointed by the state party and confirmed by the state board, 2 Republicans appointed by the state party and confirmed by the North Carolina State Board of Elections. And the 5th member is appointed by the governor, and that person serves as the chair. Currently, I have Mary Sum and Liz McDowell as my Republican members, John Gresham and Chris Fialco as my Democratic members, and my board chair appointed by the governor is former Representative Beverly Earl, and she serves as a chair. This group has been together for about, maybe 2.5, 4 years, 2.5 years for the current group. Mostly of the time they've all been fairly covered. Governed by the U.S. Constitution, North Carolina Constitution, general statutes, and federal court cases and state court cases. We're ready to swing on a pendulum. We don't know if we're going to show voter ID or if we're not going to show voter ID. We don't know if we're going to have early voting here or early. We have to swing with that, and it's probably the toughest part of our job. And like I said earlier, my funding comes from the county mostly, with 40% of it coming from the city, and anywhere from, like I said, a $6 to $9 million budget. Thank you very much, county commissioners. The board itself has a lot of important things that they have to do. They enforce all the rules and regulations. That's our job. But my board itself, they actually appoint the chief judges and judges of every precinct. We got close to 200 precincts, 195 precincts in this county. I have to have a chief judge and 2 judges at every precinct. So just kicking off, you got 600 people that have to work for you on election day. Then I've got another 400 that are that are assistants at the electronic poll book. I've got another 600 to 800 that are equipment assistants, and another 400 or 500. I employ anywhere from about 2,500 to 3,500 people on election day. And they basically do it for what? They do it for a stipend. I give $100, $125 for an assistant, and I think we go all the way up to $200 for a chief judge for one whole day. That whole day consists of being there at 5:30 in the morning and leaving when it's over. Leaving when it's over, past, usually 7:30 is when we close polls, 9:30 is about the time, 8:30, 9:30 is about the time they're leaving. So that's a good 12, 14-hour day just for election day, not to mention all the prep time. So those people do great work. We've got some of the best, I think we got the best precinct officials and workers in this county, in this state, here in our county. My board investigates any irregularities. They establish any precincts if we need them. The most important thing they're doing right now is this. They select early voting sites for the November election. Today is technically the deadline. My board approved last week 33 early voting sites for the November general election. I'm proud to say that they actually decided to say, let's keep it going. Let's keep early voting going. I'll show you some numbers in a few minutes about the early voting. But 33 early voting sites were unanimously approved for the 2024 November general election. So I'm happy about that. And they received the returns of the primary and the elections and canvass the results. Now, when I go back to those 33 early voting sites, we've got about 20 or 22 of them figured out. The other 11 right now are to be determined. We're trying to find bigger locations, find spaces where we can get as many voters as we can into a spot and have them vote. And that's a hard thing to do. I am currently, if you live up in the university area, I rent for the month the old Coles up in the university. Huge open space, and they've been super generous with us. So we rent it from them, but the commitment is for the month. If they find somebody that wants to rent it for the whole year, they're kicking me out. Currently down in the South Charlotte area at Carmel Commons Shopping Center, I vote at a old Rite Aid in the Carmel Commons Shopping Center. It's a great location, perfect location. Had no problems voting in the first primary there, but come November, I get kicked out. Why? What comes right before the election? Halloween. You're right. You're exactly right. And what they do at that place, they have a Halloween spirit store, one of those pop-ups for 2 or 3 months that pay full rent, and they get the building and I don't. So that's what we're faced for, and that's how we have to. That's the challenge we have every time we try to find a location this far out. That's why I said a lot of those to be determined. How do you vote? How can you vote? You can vote 3 ways in North Carolina. The first way, which always starts at the beginning, is voting absentee by mail. Any registered voter may vote absentee by mail. So if you want to vote and you're not sure if you're going to be here that day on election day, or you don't want to go through the problem of going down to your precinct or going to an early voting site, you can go online. There's an online portal where you type in your information and I can send you that ballot out by mail. And you vote it, have it witnessed, and make sure you do this. Provide a photo ID when you vote by mail. I know that sounds strange, but You make a photocopy of your driver's license or your passport. That's what is required to vote by mail. If you can't do that, there's something called a reasonable impediment. And that's this form right here. A reasonable impediment says, I can't make a photocopy of an ID because I don't have one. Or I don't have a printer. On an absentee by mail, that is one of those things that you can check as a box. I don't have a printer at my house. How many of you have printers at your house? Well, there are a few of us. Oh, no offense, some of us are over 20. Those of us over 20 can probably have printers. This young fellow right here, he doesn't have a printer at his house. No offense to you, but you don't have a printer at your house. Kids don't have printers at their house. Why do I print it, Dad? That's what my kids say. I got it on a PDF on my phone. I don't need a printer. Heck, my kids are funny. One daughter came up to me and said, one time, said, Dad, where do you buy stamps? I said, what? And he said, where do you get stamps? I said, I get them out of your mother's pocketbook. I don't know where you get them. So it's one of those things where a lot of people don't have printers, and everything's sent electronic. But if you can't get an ID, the state law allows for you to claim a reasonable impediment. It's got to be true, but I can't get an ID. I don't have transportation. I'm sick or disabled. I can't make that. I don't have all the documents, a birth certificate. My work schedule, my school schedule, that's too tough. I can't get a photo ID, or I've got other responsibilities. Or if it was stolen, or you've applied for it but have not received it. If you check one of these boxes when you send that ballot in or when you vote, my board is, and sign the document, my board is required to accept that photo ID, or to accept that as being true. So they have no choice. Now, I've had a couple in this past few elections that put down, I don't believe in photo ID. And that may be true. You may not. That's not a reason for not having a photo ID. We had one young man who came at our last election and argued eloquently that he thought it was a poll tax. And that's a good job. But as we told him, that does not prohibit you from showing a photo ID, but you'd make a good argument. You need to talk to our General Assembly, not necessarily us, because I can't do anything different. The other way you can vote is early. I love early voting. Be honest, how many of you vote early? Thank you. Yeah. I know you don't vote by mail because you don't have a photo printer. But most of us like to vote early. It is a convenience factor. I got some time. I'm going to run down to Hal Marshall Annex right now, and I'm going to go vote on my way back to work. It's that easy. It doesn't commit me to that first Tuesday after that first Monday in November. It allows me for 17 days before, pick a day. Well, there it is. I'm going to vote. I can go vote early. I can vote early. Now, I get people who get upset with me, say you only should vote on one day. Yeah, that's your choice. You may make that choice and vote only on one day. Unfortunately for me, I get to allow people to do multiple days. And that to me is probably the best thing we can do. It always starts the third Thursday before the election. I must start early voting on the third Thursday before the election. And it has to end 3 p.m. on the Saturday before the election. And during this time, 3 p.m. on election day, or end of early voting, up through election day, I am not allowed to make you a photo ID at my office. I cannot make you one. So if you need one, do it before 3 p.m. on the Saturday before the election, or you have to wait and come after the election on the Wednesday after the election, and I can start making photo IDs again. So make sure you do that. It's very important that I stick to this. Again, like I said, I'm extremely happy that the board was able to agree unanimously to 33 early voting sites for this November election. And like I said, I'll show you some numbers in a minute. But at any of the early voting sites, I live up in Cornelius, but I work down in Ballantyne. I can go to the early voting site in Ballantyne and get my ballot because of the great equipment we use. I can get my ballot and I vote my ballot. I live at, I live down Steel Creek, but work uptown. I can go to an uptown site, get my ballot, and vote the ballot I'm supposed to vote for my district. Because remember, we all have different districts. We're divided into three congressional districts. I don't even know anymore. It changes so much. But congressional districts, state house, state senate, county commission, all of those districts that we have, we're divided into. And again, when you come to vote, you're going to be required to show a photo ID. And if you don't have a photo ID, yes, you can complete this reasonable impediment form. You'll vote a provisional. That's why I say on the sign, everybody will be allowed to vote with or without a photo ID. But if you don't have a photo ID, you vote a provisional ballot. And you mark one of these, or if you say, well, I don't have it with me, you bring it back to my office and show me before canvas day. So that's one of the things that you would be able to do. But again, gotta show. If not, you have to give me a reasonable impediment. And then everybody's standard is election day. Everybody can vote on election day. We've got a voter search tool on our website where you can go and you can say, where's my precinct? Where do I vote? Has it changed or anything? For instance, for this second primary, we've actually combined several precincts, like about 30 of them, because I don't have a lot of Republicans in some precincts. So I've sent all those people that are eligible to vote in this election, I've sent a letter to them that for this election only, you're going to vote at this precinct, so that I don't have to open up 165 or 195 precincts for voters that won't show up. You'll have that case. Election day, 6:30 to 7:30. All the sites are open from 6:30 in the morning till 7:30 at night. If you show up at 7:31, 7:32, we're going to say, I'm sorry, you're too late. You're going to get mad. You're going to get upset. Just like I was. Traffic's horrible. So you're going to have to do all of that. But don't despair. Get there early. Don't go through that stuff. And just make sure you get there early so that you can vote on election day. And again, if you're voting on election day, I'm stressing this point. If you haven't got a photo ID, there's a reasonable impediment form that you'll fill out too. So fill that out if you don't have one for the reason why you don't have a photo ID, and then we're required to also accept it. Let me stop right there and introduce a young lady to you, Carol Hill Williams. She is a deputy director at the Mecklenburg County Board of Elections. About a year now.
Almost.
Yeah, I've kept her a year. So I'm great addition to the board. I am super excited to have her here. So we're going to do great things. Good stuff. And I told her 9 o'clock too, so that's why she didn't. Oh, God. I should have said that. What kind of county is Mecklenburg County? Well, as far as voter registration goes, you see by the blue, we're mostly a Democratic county. 41% Democrat, 38% unaffiliated. Second largest is unaffiliated. You've only got 20%, 21% Republican, then 1% of the other. So that's about 2008. This overtook that. You had in 2008, you had more unaffiliates than you had Republicans. Now, just, I think it was 2 years ago, statewide, unaffiliates overtook everybody as the most popular form of registration. I grew up, if you want to get involved in politics, you got to get a Democrat or a Republican, Michael. You got to choose one. If you want to get, and when I was growing up in North Carolina, if you want to get involved in politics, you wanted to get involved in primary politics, you had to be a Democrat. So I registered as a Democrat at that point in time. Kids nowadays, younger people, I don't want either one of them. I just want to be, I have no offense to the other guests that were invited. I just want to make up my own mind. I like some of this and some of that. So that's how they go. There is a process that you have to go through in the political process there. But as you see too, this is a number back in March. Pretty slack on the bookkeeping, aren't you, Michael? No, we're in May. Doesn't take me 2 months. What's taking the time is when we have a second primary, you have to freeze everything. I have no new voter registration. I haven't had new voter registration since, actually before this, sort of the end of February. I've got about 25,000 new registrations ready to go up as soon as we complete this election and upload voter history. So in about 2 weeks, you'll see that number increase from 789,000 to over 800,000 registered voters in the state. And yes, everybody out there watching, don't need to call the office. We have your voter registration. We are waiting to upload everything once this, and that's a state rule, once this election's over, then I can upload everything. I think my public information team at the office gets about 20 calls a day. Wait a minute, I registered to vote, you don't have me on this. What's the problem? Well, as soon as we finish this election, I will put everybody up, because a second primary is not a new election. It's a continuation of the first primary. That's what you have to remember. This is a great slide. This I love. Take a look at this. We started early voting in North Carolina back in 2000. I had just gotten here in 1998, and I said, 2000, wow. This is going to be fun. We're going to do early voting. And we ended up, the first presidential election, 58,000, close to 59,000 people voting early. That was pretty good. Back then, you had more Republicans vote early than you did Democrats. The first time we did this in the presidential election. Republicans figured it out real quick. Hey, I can incorporate this into my campaign ads, my campaign literature. All of that was a great idea. You get people out early. I remember seeing the commercial for then Congresswoman Sue Myrick, who used to represent the 9th Congressional District here in Mecklenburg County. Her campaign ad would say, vote for me, and you can come out and vote early for me at South County Regional Library or the South Park Library or downtown at the main library. She actually told them, you can go vote early for me at these sites. It was great. 58,000. It was a growing pain that first year. We started early voting that year, had to tie into our database at the county so that we could tag you as voting. And the first week we started, and I just remember it vividly because still it's one of those things that scars you for life. We started voting at 10 o'clock in the morning back then. We turned on all the computers at 10 o'clock in the morning. By 10:15, everything had gone down for the whole week because we were tied into a system. Everything went right down. They ended up at each site calling my office. I got John Smith registered. Is he ready? Yeah, you can vote him. We have to do it that way, hand by hand. It was a terrible start. But come to find out, there was a router that every time it got hit by X amount of data, it would go down, and then they'd have to restore. and figured it out before the end of the first week, and everything went smooth after that. But it was just one of those growing pains. But close to 59,000 voting early. The orange line is what you're also looking at. That was election day. Back then, we had just started early voting. You had close to 200,000 people go up and show up on election day. And that was the day we voted. That was the day we voted. And the gray line down here is significant. That's a vote by mail. Back before this, when you voted by mail, you had to have a reason to vote by mail. You know, I'm sick. Well, I might be out of the county, or I might be out of town. I'm not going to be able to vote. So you had to have a reason to vote by mail. That's what you saw, a number like that, 6,000. After 2000, it changed. And so now there's no excuse early voting, and that applies to absentee by mail. So then we fast forward up to, from the 2000 presidential election, we fast forward to the 2004 presidential election. So you had about 60,000 early voters in the 60,000 early voters that voted in the 2000 election. 4 years later, you had about a 50% increase, 30,000 more voters. Jumped it up to 91,000. You still had a little bit of growth at election day of 218,000 people voting on election day, and you pretty much doubled your number in absentee by mail from 6,000 to 15,000 people voting early. So that's a good number. But then look at 2004 to 2008. What was 2008 presidential election? President Obama's first election. Say what you want. Man knew how to get voters out, didn't he? He had an organization that would get people out. My in-laws lived in a small town, 3-mile road. There were 3 houses on that road, up in country in New Hampshire. Had a farm up there. On election day, 2 representatives from his office. I work with the President Obama campaign, or Obama for President campaign. Can we take you to help get you a vote? Had the organization, thought, okay, if we can vote, where are these states that vote early? Oh, North Carolina. Okay, let's hit it. Let's hit North Carolina. You went from 91,000 voting in 2004 all the way up to 208,000 voting. You over doubled what voted in 2004 early because of an effort. And look what really happened. This is the mark that I gauged. The orange line went down to 180,000. First time ever, more people voted before election day than on election day. First time. So you go from 208 to 180. And since you were doing a no excuse absentee by mail, look at absentee by mail, goes up to about 26,000 voters for that. 2012, the second President Obama campaign did not stop. You'll see they increased about 50,000 voters, 208 to 250 something. Brand new record at that point in time. And see the orange line keeps going down. You go from 180 to 170. So more people are choosing to vote early. And you have a slight increase in absentee by mail, about a 10% increase in absentee by mail. But that was 2012. Look at 2016. President Trump race from 2016. You get about a 34,000 increase, 250 to 284. Everybody's still voting early. They like that. That continues to rise. My election day continues to fall to 166. Voting on election day. And, absentee by mail is sort of steadied out at that point in time, 25 to 30,000. And then we had 2020. What was 2020?
Pandemic.
Yeah, COVID. Gosh, remember we were all holed up, couldn't come. A group like this, I would have been online. Would have been late then. I would have been online. But everything was online. You had to do everything online. Couldn't get together because we don't know. We can't figure out what we're doing. But we muddled through it. The biggest thing to look at was at that point in time in 2020, the board decided, okay, let's do what we can. We've got how many early voting sites? We went to 33, I think it was, in 2020. 33 early voting sites. Most we had ever done. Most we had ever done before was 22. So a 50% increase. And the board would say, hey, I think we kind of hit a saturation point. So we're kind of hit it at that. But unfortunately for us, we were able to get high school gymnasiums. All the schools were still shut down. Remember, they were in remote mode. So you couldn't go to school. So we were having gymnasiums where we could put everybody 10 feet apart and keep everybody safe because we did not know at that point in time what was going on, how it was being surpassed and what we could do. We had, what was it, PPE, all of that sort of stuff. Sanitizer, my gosh, it still is on our hands. You had it all over. But that's what we all did. We wanted to stay safe and we still wanted people to vote. So what can we do? We went to school gymnasiums and put everybody 10 feet apart. And we voted 365,000 people. 80-some thousand people more than you voted 4 years earlier. 365,000 people early. The bigger number on all this is you went from 166,000 on election day to 67,000 on election day. Now, I don't think we're going to be that small this election day, but if I have 33,000 or 33 early voting sites, interesting thing. Voting early, 365,000. I had about, of that number, I had 10% come the first day, and then another 10% come the second day, and then it went down. So the first 2 days of early voting, I talked it up to us being just, we're tired, we're cooped up, we got to get out. Here's an opportunity. Michael said he's going to keep us safe. Let's go. We can vote 10 feet apart. 35,000 the first day and 33,000 the second day voted early. So that's Thursday, that's Friday. We're sitting back just, oh, God's strong. What? Wow, that's huge. And then that was a great number. But the number that really worked us the hardest, because early voting, it worked out well because we could get people and train people. We had it spread out over 33 sites. You're working all those people and everybody's conscious of what they're doing. But the hardest number was this, 25,000 to 135,000 that voted by mail. I got close to 230 or 240,000 requests for absentee by mail. Cost over $1 just to send each piece of mail out. Over $1. That's just the cost of the mailing. Not to mention all the staff time it took to put that together. You had that number there, over 230,000. So there are about 100,000 that I just threw away because they never sent it back. But it was an option. They could go online. I sent out 70,000 ballots that Labor Day weekend, the first day. The one day I sent out over 70,000 ballots just to accommodate our absentee by mail requests. That was the first day I could send out 6 days before the election. And you got 135,000 back. That's 5 times whatever voted before by mail. So that's a huge number. Now, what do I expect this November? I have no idea. It's not easy. We're presuming, we're presuming that you're going to continue to vote early. And I encourage everybody to vote early. It is a great way of doing it. You know, nothing worse. I voted in person one time, had to stand in the line. And I'm just looking down at my feet, I'm all sheepish, I felt embarrassed. Oh, gosh, what are you idiot, Michael, you make people stand in line. I said, what's an option? Oh, vote early. And I can always find an early voting site that's not terribly busy, not tremendously busy. So I always look for that and go and have my favorite early voting site to go to. But they've always got early voting and you can pick a day. Well, I wanted to do it today, but tomorrow might be better for me. I got too many things. That's like election day. A lot of this is a mobile city. Everybody's in and out. And golly gosh, you look at that airport, you go out there and there be thousands of people just going in and out of the city every day. I don't know if I'll be, you know, if I'm working for a bank, well, like, geez, I got to go finish a deal in New York on Tuesday, the election day. I'm not going to be able to vote. Well, you got a chance here. The early voting, the by mail, you have all these options at that point in time. Not just in presidential elections, I might add too. This is early voting for the last few midterm elections. Now our primary this year was small. We were about 60,000 voters less than we voted 4 years ago in the primary. I think we're about 148,000 people. But even in our primary, there was a slight tick up, 2 percentage points of people of the voting people that voted decided to vote early. So there was a slight tick. Even though you were down as whole, early voting was still up a little bit in the primary when you look at percentage. But this is also interesting here, because I wanted to see how, you know, they always say, oh, well, early voting benefits the Democrats, or the early voting the Republicans. So I said, nah, let's see. And proportionally so, 2018, yes, I had more Democrats vote early than on election day. Republicans slightly lower, and unaffiliates, again, slightly lower. Again, yes, Democrats are voting early, but also look at this, in 2020, the presidential, you had just as many unaffiliates who decided to vote early than on election day. And then the 2022 last year, yes, you had a slight increase, or 2 years ago, of Democrats and Republicans. But if you look at those numbers, going back to that first graph I had, proportionally so, that's about what your breakdown is. About 40% Democrat, 20% Republican, and the 34% of unaffiliates. So that is not off base. That's kind of what you expect on voting. Now there are a couple of things that are important to know. Currently, and this was legislation passed last year, some of this legislation is being argued at the court case in Winston-Salem now. So House Bill, Section 140, House Bill, we call it 747. One thing that changed, it says that all absentee ballots have to be back by 7:30 election. They have to be in my office. Year before last, you would allow a 3-day grace period. Okay, as long as it's time stamped or postmarked, thank you. As long as it's postmarked by election day and received in my office by Friday at 5 o'clock, it will accept it. Not anymore. Now everything has to be accepted at the office. Now we work real hard with the post office, and they do a great job. They do a fantastic job. I'm a firm believer in what we call the 11th commandment at our office. Thou shalt not criticize other government officials. I am a firm believer that the post office does a great job. And the other thing we do, by the way, is we pray at our office. We pray a lot. Dear Lord, let everyone who wins this election win big. So we don't have any questions about it. And if there's gonna be a problem with this election,
And no runoff.
let it happen in Wake County, not bad. That's usually our favorite prayer. But it also has this, 747 also has this piece in here about jury duty. If you're disqualified from jury duty being non-citizen, the courts are required to send us a list of non-citizens to report in. We have to remove those from our list. Part of our list maintenance program. That's another thing we do. We do list maintenance. I don't purge voters. Just have it as straight. We do list maintenance. And list maintenance is required by us that we remove people who pass away, people incarcerated for felony. We remove people that move out of town, the country, and we remove people that just want their name taken off the list. We have to remove those people. I'm not allowed to go and take a list from you as a citizen or some other group that says, we've investigated these people and they're not real, they're not registered, we don't think they should be allowed. I can't do that. List maintenance removal that we do is a process where if we don't have contact with you with 2 federal elections, we've sent you a piece of mail and it's come back. I sent you another piece and it's come back. After 2 federal elections, I put you in a status called inactive, separate poll book, but you're still registered to vote. And I put you in that inactive status. And then after 2 more federal elections, so 8 years, I then remove you from the list. If you can come back and prove that you haven't been, I can vote you. But we don't do a purge as it's stated. Now, it seems like it because that usually happens after a presidential election, and we have most of our activity. But after the presidential year in January of the even year, that's when they say, okay, we're removing these. And in a county like Mecklenburg with close to 800,000, you're going to have 25,000 that you can end up removing. But that's the natural process of people who pass away, and we don't get notified, or moved out of the county and we don't get notified. That's a natural process. So we have that. All judges, it used to be that they're required to be their continuous presence, and we're still encouraging continuous presence by all chief judges and judges, those 3 people that we have assigned. But the General Assembly has allowed them to also go out and say, okay, you can do it part-time. You can do it in the morning, you can do it in the afternoon. Because 15-hour day is a long day. So we have the possibility of doing that. And we also now have to ask the parties for a list of who they want to work. If they have a list of people that they want to serve as judge and chief judge at early voting too, at each of our early voting sites. And we maintain a log of anybody. If you go in and say, well, this is my mom, I have to help her, we have to maintain a log of anybody who's not a near relative. I walk in, Carol and I aren't related, it just seems like we are. If I go in and she says, I'm helping Michael vote, she has to sign her name and she has to give that information to the precinct official so that we can have a record of it. It's law. That's what I tell people. The other big bill that went out was Senate Bill 749 last year. And like I said, this was one that really changed a lot of us, and we were thinking what was going on. 749 changed the structure of my board and the state board. 749 would have made my board a 4-member board with 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. You generally get a unanimous decision with that, don't you? And then you also would have changed the state board to 8 members, 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans. And if there was anything that was split 2-2, 4-4, it would then go to the General Assembly to handle. So a 3-judge Superior Court panel struck down that struck down that piece, saying, nah, you're kind of taking over the governor's powers when you don't have that. So it's been, I think it has been appealed. I think the Republican leadership has appealed this. So we'll see what happens. Our hope is that we don't have anything like this come up through the rest of summer, so that you all don't have to be worried about what's going on at the Board of Elections. The other thing I like to tell people is how we keep your votes safe. Ever since 2020, we get a lot of people say, oh, that's not safe. Oh, yeah. No, that's not the case. That's not the case. There's no evidence of any sort of cyber attack or anything like that. Keep in mind, all of our equipment is independent. All of our equipment is independent. So when you go to vote on that voting machine, look around that machine. You see an electrical cord, that's it. Nothing's hooked up to the internet. I'm not allowed to let that machine ever touch the internet. Look at the tabulator where you stick your vote in. Nothing is allowed to go into the internet. As a matter of fact, they've got those little thumb drives that I put the results on, and when they're done voting, they shut the machine down, and they say close the polls, and that thumb drive gets uploaded, and then they pull that thumb drive out, and they literally drive that result down to my office. You all say, is that the reason why it takes you so long, Michael, to produce results? And I say yes. If I'm coming from North County or University down to my office downtown, it takes a while. Plus, it takes a while to shut down the machines, and it takes a while to get all your data together so that you can bring it down to us. But they bring that thumb drive, and we bring it into an office to a standalone computer. And we upload all of those thumb drives, and these are encrypted thumb drives that the vendor sells us. They're $100 a piece. But they're encrypted, so they're safe. We know it's it. But they bring those in to our office, and we upload each one from every precinct. And then we upload to the state system by taking a brand new clean thumb drive that we had just purchased, uploading the results from that standalone computer onto that clean thumb drive, walk it over to a separate computer that's hooked up to the internet in another office, and upload that. And then we leave that there. And we do the same thing until we get all the precincts reporting in. So it seemed a redundant process, but we never touched the internet with this computer here. Elections officials, we have a real strong partnership with a bunch of different groups in the federal government and the state government. So we're happy with that. Am I getting close to my time?
Oh,
I thought she just got me off with that.
well, we would like to have a little dialogue, some questions.
Give me 2 more minutes. Thanks. Now I'm under pressure. Wow. We all must use a paper ballot. Everybody in this state has to use a paper ballot. So we all have a paper ballot, be it that little paper ballot or that full-size paper. What's the purpose of that? Recounts. In 2020, we had a recount of the entire election. 567,499 votes. We had to recount those. Ran them all through the system. All 67,499. Because we had a close race. Remember Sherry Beasley and Paul Newby, Chief Justice Supreme Court race? Recounted it in our office. Took us about a week and a half to actually do the recount. We're off by 4 votes out of 567,499. And I swear to this day, it was those fill in the oval votes, not the machine votes on the machine. We test every machine before we send it out. We do a script vote. Carol and I will literally say, how do we want this vote? 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Let's do that. And we send it out to our warehouse. And I say, okay, guys, they have a team of 50 people out there. Test vote these. Make sure this machine works. Sure enough, boom, 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 boom. And we download it, upload it to the state so we know we get the same result. That way, we can sleep for about 4 hours before election day. That we get about 4 hours of sleep the night before, just because we know we've tested everything and it works. All voting machines are certified by the Elections Assistance Commission. Last couple of weeks, I started getting emails from a group or from county commissioners that said, hey, we just got this from a voter in our district. Can you explain this? And I looked at it and said, wow, it's pretty intense. Talking about password encryption on various files and all this sort of stuff. So we got some smart people in this county. So I talked to our state and said, yeah, everybody's getting those. There was evidently a group out there that was sending, make sure, in the light of a recent Supreme Court case, make sure your local board does this, this, and this, and this, and they were referencing piece of voting equipment we don't use. But we said, rest assured, we do this, we do follow all these rules, and we do keep things safe and accurate. I told you too, that can't be ever connected to the internet. I can't connect anything to the internet. So it's all standalone, so I don't have to worry about it being hacked by bad actors, is that what they called them back in 2020? Don't have to worry about that. Again, mentioned too, we do the LNA testing, that we make sure that everything you do is tested. Everything that we put out there is tested, it's gonna work the way it's supposed to work. And we do an annual maintenance. Annual maintenance is expensive, I'll get out too. But it makes sure the machines are working, and it's very important that way. As I also mentioned too, we do a bipartisan trained elections officials. Anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500 people could be out there working on our elections. We actually conduct audits. I mean, I used to run numbers that says, gosh, seems like a lot of people didn't vote at that precinct. What happened? You come to find out they voted early because we opened up a new early voting site in that area or something like that. So those are little things that we do. North Carolina is one of the few states that actually has a dedicated elections investigation staff. One of the few states. So if there's an issue, we send it down to them and they actually look at it for us. And that's it. Did I leave enough time?
All right, thank you so much. We have a few questions. We want to start with Ms. Jackie Edwards-Walton.
I knew it.
Thanks so much for coming. Can you tell us what is Canvas, and also what about, pardon me, I know better. Can you tell us what Canvas is, and also how are you looking for the number of persons who will work the polls during this general election?
Thanks. Canvas is just basically a term that says we're finalizing the election. That's what Canvas is. It's 10 days after the election day, and that gives my staff time to go through and review all provisional ballots. Gives my staff time to make sure they can upload history, voter history, so that we know everybody who's voted is voted. And then it gives the time for my board to vote on those provisional ballots, and then count those, add those to the total. And at that point in time, after the active canvas is when the board actually says, okay, these are the results. We move to finalize this election and send it to the state board. So all the numbers are true and accurate, the machines work, these are the numbers that we have, and these are the final results. This is what Michael has uploaded to the State Board of Elections. So that's the active canvas. It's always 10 days after the election. It always has to be at 11 o'clock on that 10th day after, which is always a Friday, second Friday after the election at 11 o'clock. Recruiting people that work for our office at the sites, early voting or election day, it's a constant motion. It's constant motion. First off, we always have sign-up sheets at every precinct when you go to vote. Here, you want to work? Sign up and we'll see if we need you and get your name. We're very fortunate. I got some great poll workers. They have been doing it 25, 30 years. I got 100-year-old poll workers. who works early voting, and it's her second job. I mean, these guys they're dedicated at doing this work, so they're fantastic people. So we have a lot of repeat business, people that want to keep coming back and working. But we're always looking for more. I always like to see more. The requirement is this year too that the General Assembly has to, the General Assembly, I gotta shut up. Okay. The General Assembly has also said that I had to have party committees give me names of people that want to work early voting. So that's a requirement in that. We'll see if that happens.
All right, Carrie.
Do I need?
I'm sorry. Let's.
I just want to say a comment. I have been working the polls since 2022, and everybody, I just want to commend you. Everybody from all across the board, from training to all the poll workers, so professional, so efficient. Regarding the voter ID, I know you have no control over this, you're just carrying out the law, but I think that, I believe that it is a solution in search of a problem. As you've said, fraud is really non-existent, so do you agree?
Thanks. Now to answer that professionally, I'm doing my job. Answer it, what are we looking for? If you're right, if the law says I have to show a photo ID, well, okay, I'm gonna have to ask you for that photo ID and ask you to give it to me. And I'm not gonna argue with people whether it is or it isn't necessary. I'm just saying if that's what's required. You're right. I'm leaving it to the legal experts arguing in Winston-Salem right now whether or not we need to show that photo ID. And as passionate as you sound against it, is it something we're looking for in search of a problem? The other side, if it gets overturned, the other side will be saying, we need to show a photo ID because all these illegal people are voting. My argument is a couple of things, usually I'm not going to do something that exposes me if I'm doing something corrupt. I'm also going to argue in a county like that get me in trouble. County like Mecklenburg, in order to affect that change, you got to have a lot of people that are going to do something illegal, especially when it comes to voting. Just even in this past election where I had 149,000 people, and you can't tell me that it's not going to be somebody that's going to talk. Oh, I did this, we did that. And we've got methods. Everybody says, you don't know who I am. I know who you are. When you register to vote, I check out who you are. Because in your I gotta talk quicker. In your registration, I ask for your name, address, 4 digits of your social, last 4 digits of social, your driver's license. I check that database before I say you're a registered voter.
So in the essence of time, we're going to ask everybody to keep their questions to 30 seconds and your response to a minute. We have about 7 questions that we're going to try to get to. Ms. McClellan.
Okay, my question, and thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us the effect that it's had on the apathy of the poll workers in Mecklenburg County? Because nationally we hear about that all the time, how they do not want to work at the polls because of the threats. Do we have that problem here in Mecklenburg County?
I would say overall, no. Individually, every now and then you see something like that, but you can't help but not see that nationally and say, wait a minute, I'm a poll worker, I don't want to do that. I think about it myself. My concern, early voting election day, is the safety of all our poll workers. It's very important. But we also don't want to live in fear. We're also going to attack at that and say, we're doing it right, we don't have to work. We don't think that's the answer by just saying, well, I'm going to go back and do this. I understand people get passionate about the process. Everybody does. You should get passionate about your candidates, but you also have to understand that somebody will win and somebody will not win. And that's just the way it goes. That's the way it works when you're voting for somebody.
All right, we have Lucille, then we have a question from an online viewer, then we have Rondra.
Very simple question. And with the early voting sites for 2024, will it be all the sites open at the same time, or are we going back to where just Hill Marshall is gonna be open the first week or so?
Yeah, I'll take a second to say hi to Lucille. Good to see you again. We've been seeing a lot of each other the last few weeks. No, we're going to open all of them the first day at 8 o'clock in the morning and then run them straight through. 8 to 7:30 weekdays, 8 to 3 Saturdays, 1 to 5 on Sundays is what we will be voting. 2 Sundays, 3 Saturdays, and 12 weekdays. So, yeah, and I'll keep you posted on all those. Next question.
All right, go ahead, Rondra.
I am a 20-year poll worker also, and I was curious about the felon law.
Okay, good question. It's pretty much been, well, it kind of goes back and forth. Currently, if you're a convicted felon, you cannot vote until you have completed your sentence. 2 years ago, if you were a convicted felon, you could have voted even if you hadn't completed your sentence, but you were out on probation. So it's been going back and forth. So that's where it stands now. The good thing about poll workers is, for you all, is I try to give you all the information you can so you don't have to worry about making decisions. So if that person comes up and they're in the books, they're okay to vote. If they're not in the books, they can't vote. Make it simpler for you. Good question. That's something we always deal with.
All right, we have a question from an online viewer, Faith Trigg. She asks, what are 1 or 2 outstanding voter registration programs you have observed in other states that would be good for us? And what is an actual goal number for voting rates that you would like to have? Who would you like to see?
Voting rates, I'd love to see a 72 to 75% turnout, especially for a presidential election. I think that would be great. Just between us, I don't know if we're going to see that this year. I mean, there's a lot of folks saying, a small turnout in a primary. A lot of now, granted, we don't do voter registration drives, our office. I do voter registration, but we don't do voter registration drives at our office. Most states don't. You have groups, the League of Women Voters, and their Common Cause is doing it right now too. There are a lot of groups that are out there doing voter registration drives, and they're doing a great job. Those two, and I don't want to neglect anybody. I just can't think of any of their names, but they do great work, and it's a hard job because you're walking up to somebody and saying, "Hey, give me your name, give me your address, give me your date of birth, give me the last 4 digits of your social security number, your driver's license number." Oh, wait a minute, why don't I give it? I was always told we don't give that information out, right? I don't want to give it to a total stranger that's at rock the boat drive or something like that. So it's a tough job that they have. I say if you're concerned, go online. You download the form. I've got that form available to you. If you're registered, you can also amend that form. If you're registered with the Department of Motor Vehicles, you can also make sure you're registered there by going into the DMV and doing electronic.
All right, Ms. Nathalie, Ms. Edwards-Walton, and I have a question.
Okay. Thank you for coming. I'm a transplanted New Yorker, and I worked the polls there for all of my adult life. And when I moved to Charlotte, one of the first things I did was sign up to be a poll worker here. Showed up that day ready to go. Around about 10 o'clock, I said, when do we start the breaks? Where they told me that you're locked in there for the day. They did allow me to go out and bring in some food, because I would have just starved for the day. Why the lower, not the officers, not the judges, but why can't they go out for breaks during the day? Because as you said, it is such a long day.
It's a good question, and what I've often said, sort of like the reason why I bring in food for my staff on election day. Because if I send you out, you're not coming back. A lot of them won't show back up. The law was it had to be continuous presence, and even for the non-chief judges and judges. Yeah, so, that's it. Now, I have the ability, if they can work you part-time, half the day, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours. But yeah, once you guys are in there, you're stuck. It has been that way, and it's something that's required that you have. The three have continuous presence. They can't go anywhere without all of them being around. They're the three that make the decision if you have something that arises. The rest of you have to be there. I can't have people coming in and out of a precinct, except for voters.
Yes, can you speak to student ID and also the 2021 election, because we had a delay of the census numbers released?
Oh, yes, yeah. Student ID, most universities, they all have to apply for a student to be allowed to use a student ID. So they have to apply with the state board. Our universities here, I think Johnson C. Smith, UNC Charlotte, Queens, and I'm pretty sure Davidson, those students can use their school ID to vote as a allowable form of photo ID. But it all has to be approved by the state, so that's.
Not Central Piedmont.
Not Central. I don't think so, because there was a new round that was coming out. I knew they weren't around earlier. But no, I don't think CPCC had that opportunity at that point in time. And the election was a 2021 election. 2020, every 10 years we do a census. Every 10 years we're required to do a census. 2021, when the census numbers came out, they came out like expected, too late. And so you didn't have time to hold a municipal City of Charlotte election. So we had to push that municipal City of Charlotte election out a year to May for the primary and July for the general election for the City of Charlotte only. We had a overall primary event. So basically those people that were elected in the City of Charlotte that year were basically elected for 1 year. And now then they turned around and ran again in 2023. So they're serving their full 2-year term right now.
My question is about the ID. Where is that, where would that ID be recognized or acknowledged? Is it just with the voter system of Mecklenburg County, or can it transcend different services throughout the county?
The one we make, no. It's just with us for voting purposes. I can't use it to buy alcohol. I can't use any of that to get on a plane. The only thing I can use the photo ID for voting is for voting only.
And what information is on it?
It's just your voter registration, CW number, and your name, and I think it has your address on it too. But if I have a driver's license, it doesn't have an address? No. If I have a driver's license, I've got a photo ID. Keep that in mind. So you don't need to come down, but make sure they do.
I can't believe it. Look at that.
We have time?
With time to spare.
All right.
Man. Without further, excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, please, thank you, Mr. Michael Dickinson from the Mecklenburg County Board of Elections. Would you like, I didn't even ask, would you like to give some closing thoughts to complete your presentation?
Real quick, thank you for those of you who worked the elections. Thank you for all those that worked the elections. It's not done without the thousands of people that we put out. Early voting, election day, absentee back at the office. I've got a great staff back at the office. We're about 28 people strong right now, I think, and they do a fantastic job. The question was, about security of pollers. That's my most important thing to do. Make sure everybody's secure. Make sure my staff's secure. And we work closely with law enforcement. The sheriff has been great to me. He has actually sent down cars to help us with traffic. And all I have to do is send him a text and say, Michael, I got it. I got you, I'm gonna cover you. And so he will always send somebody down. He helps us with traffic coming out of the parking lot. You brought back stuff. And sheriff people, directing people, and wow, it was nice having lights going on. But keep in mind, we'll start voting the third Thursday before the election for November. We start voting early, 60 days before the election. So that'll be in September if you want to vote by mail. early voting the third Thursday before the election in October, and then election day. I'm giving you options. And if you can think of any place that you think would be a great big spot to vote early, parking, easy access, let us know. I would love to present that to the board as one of our sites that we'd like to do. So thank you for your time. Seriously, thank everybody for coming out. Thank those that work for us, and thanks for the questions of those you watching at home.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dickerson. Quickly, if anyone has an announcement. All right, Shay, you got the mic, then Ms. Aretha, then Ms. Walton. Quickly, 30 seconds.
Yeah, just a reminder that Memorial Day is happening at Cedar Grove Cemetery. Come on out, it's gonna be wonderful.
All right, Ms. Aretha.
I'm again asking each of you to show up at the Ebenezer Baptist Church on the first Monday of June. That's the Juneteenth flag raising. You'll know then what, we're gonna teach you this year what red means when it comes to the Juneteenth. And that's about the teaching that you're gonna get. It's a 20-minute ceremony. And I expect to see each of you.
What time?
What time is
11:30.
11:30. All right, Ms. Puckett, then Ms. Walton, and all right, come on.
On this Saturday, May the 11th, the day before Mother's Day, my organization, Take Back Our Hoods, is having our 4th annual Grievance Mother's Day luncheon at 1 o'clock. So if you know any moms who have lost their child to gun violence or violence in our city, just have them to reach out to me at 980-522-8171 to be invited to that event. And if you would like to volunteer, also contact me.
Thank you so much.
It's at 1 o'clock, and I'm not giving out the location because I just don't want people to show up. So if they can contact me, we can go from there. Thank you so much.
All right, Ms. Walton and Ms. Cox.
I'd like to announce that this is Foster Care Month. And for those of you who were at our meeting earlier, Donna Reed, who was on our panel, was on the Jennifer Hudson show yesterday. She was one of the 5 national finalists. I don't know if she won or not, but anyway, just wanted to let y'all know that. And she is having the big cookout coming up, the family reunion.
All right, Ms. Cox, and then we'll close it out with Ms. Williams, I believe.
Oh, real quick, I'm doing free nutrition 101 class series at the extension office. It starts this Saturday. It's on Eventbrite. Just search nutrition 101 at Cooperative Extension.
Thank you so much.
2415 Lester Street, Charlotte, North Carolina 2208, right beside Amy James Rec Center.
All right, finally.
Oh, well, I just like to thank you for having us out and giving us the opportunity to share what the election process is and give you some, insight on how we operate and what the laws are. Thank you for that.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending another Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. Come back next week where our guest will be somebody else amazing. See you next Tuesday.
Well, I hated that. How are you? It's a law that allows everybody to
I tried to get them for the